Okie dokie. We are back. Roundtable Dolphins, episode 6. I am joined once again by my co-host Billie Melissa, and we are here to talk all about Dolphins football, and which is just basically about them hiring coaches.
Yeah, they're rebuilding, they're figuring it out.
They are figuring it out for sure. Jeff Hafley has gotten busy. He was introduced officially last Thursday, I believe it was, alongside new general manager John Eric Sullivan. And both of them shed some tears, which I actually really appreciated. I felt like that was a lot of passion that was shown. I don't know how
Mm.
other people feel about it. That's how I feel about it.
I love when people come in and they show they care. Like
Yep.
I remember Mike McDonald, I think he got emotional when like he got to Seattle, like and you saw how that worked out. So it's nice when guys care. It's nice when they show emotion.
Definitely. I think that's a good sign
Hmm.
when you see all of the struggle or whatever, what have you. John Eric Sullivan spent 20 years at the Green Bay Packers franchise, worked his way up.
Yeah.
Now he's running the Dolphins front office. Same thing with Jeff Hafley. There's that story going around that he slept in his office for like 3 years, had his bed underneath the desk and worked his way up. And you know what? I'm all for people that come from adversity. I come from
Mm.
adversity, so you know what I mean? Like I get it. I get the struggle of having to do what you got to do to get it done. So
Yeah. And that's like 2 decades of their life and now like a whole new chapter and like all the work that they put in is like now look at them, they're running a franchise together. So, amazing. Great start to the fans should be excited about it.
definitely, definitely. And before Jeff Hafley was introduced, he was already getting going on the coaching staff. Obviously, multiple Dolphins coaches are getting looks elsewhere.
Mm.
Anthony
Anthony Weaver.
Weaver, yeah, he's about to interview for the second time with the Cardinals. Buffalo Bills are taking a look at him. Um,
Steelers, I think. Oh no, of course not Steelers. Mike McCarthy. Gosh.
yeah, yeah, they were looking at him. He
Can
was a
barely keep up anymore.
he was a he was a top candidate, but now they got Mike McCarthy.
Swept Mike.
Um, Frank Smith, who is the current offensive coordinator, or was the offensive coordinator for the Dolphins, is also getting looks. I just read it and I totally forgot um, where he was getting an interview from. Doesn't matter. We'll just move on. But basically, Hafley is starting to build his coaching staff. And actually, I want to start with one of my favorites because I brought this up actually. We briefly touched on it. I don't remember if it was the last episode or the episode
Mhm.
before that, but I did bring him up and he got promoted. Bobby Slowick, who is the
Yep.
senior passing game coordinator for the Dolphins, was promoted to offensive coordinator. I honestly love this. I was really hoping that was going to be the case. Bobby Slowick, very well respected. He was the former Houston Texans offensive coordinator. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, I think this is a
And they've
great
been great.
yeah, I think this is a great hire for the Dolphins. He's a very well respected coach, and I believe, he got interviewed by the Eagles for their offensive coordinator position. But he's from the Shanahan tree.
Yeah.
He started off as defensive coach for the then Washington Redskins, San Francisco 49ers, then moved into offense for the 49ers. Texans offensive coordinator became the Dolphins senior passing game coordinator 2025. Now he's the offensive coordinator. Um,
Yeah. I
I
think
just
it's great when those defensive minds switch over because they've got a real intimate understanding of what they're dealing with.
Yeah, and I believe it was Kyle Shanahan that told him you can't be a good offensive coach unless you're a defensive coach first.
Yep.
So, and we all know how good Kyle Shanahan is. So, I
Yeah.
mean, I love this. I was very excited about it. I think it's a good hire. I think it's a good promotion.
Hmm.
I think if he would have gone to the Eagles offense would have been great too. So, good on them. I always like to when coaches within the organization do get promoted because
Yeah.
then whoever the quarterback is in 2026 won't have to learn that much different of a system.
Hmm.
You're not having to fumble around with all that. There's a lot of you can kind of hit the ground running a little bit more.
Yeah. There's so much change going on everywhere else that it's nice to have that little bit of stability in the middle of like a guy who's already been in the building, knows the system. Like there is a little bit of culture being kept there. Um, and I mean, great career so far. Started with the Redskins in 2011, and so when they were called the Redskins, now the football team Commanders. They've been through it the last 15 years. Then Niners, Texans, now Dolphins. I think he seems great. I think it's a really good choice to have someone inside the building stepping up in that position, especially when you've got so many good pieces of the offense that you really do want to hopefully keep going in 2026. So we'll see.
Definitely. And speaking of offense, another coach was added to this list, and that is Tyke Tolbert is now the wide receivers coach, got brought over from
Hmm.
the Tennessee Titans. Also, another very well-respected coach,
Super
uh,
Bowl winner.
Super Bowl winner. He has over 30 years of experience. He
Yeah.
worked his way up from the collegiate level, LSU, Ohio, Auburn, moved into the NFL in the early 2000s, worked with the Arizona Cardinals, the Buffalo Bills, Panthers, Broncos, Giants, Bears, Titans, and now he's with the Dolphins. So another good hire. Hafley clearly, he's got his eyes on some really great candidates, and Tolbert worked with D Hop. He worked with some great wide receivers during his time, and this is going to be exciting. This is another great hire for the offensive staff. And funny enough, so with the Buffalo Bills getting rid of Sean McDermott, they're
Yeah.
going to bring in a new head coach. That new head coach is going
Hmm.
to bring in a new coaching staff. So we got to steal one coach from the Bills. Chris Tabor, the special teams coordinator for the Buffalo
Yep.
Bills, is now in the Dolphins.
Also been around the block.
Also been
Started
around
in
the
the
block.
90s. He's been
Yeah,
around.
he's been around. These are all like really long-term coaches. They've been around the collegiate level. They've been around the NFL level. Um,
Yeah, and I think
it's
that it's nice that they're coming in to support Slovic, Tolbert coming in to support Slovic on that offense because it's nice to pair like a mind who's kind of been there and seen it with this fresh mind that's kind of, s- catching up to like the newer elements of the game and has kind of been around Mike McDaniel and seen how he ran things. It's nice. It's nice that there's like a balance, it seems, of like those big, strong people who've been around for decades and now like coming with these younger minds.
definitely, definitely. Yeah, looking right at some stats here for Mr. Tabor's unit. So the Bills had a 90.5 field goal percentage, which was, I think it was ninth best in the league. So,
Hmm.
great. They're one of only six teams that had a touchdown, kick return touchdown.
In a year where there was a whole bunch of special teams
Yeah.
mix-ups,
Yeah, I
it's
mean
good to be in the top 10.
definitely. I mean, it's kind of hard to kind of like quantify special teams because there's so many elements of it. So
And
it's
also,
like
so much has changed over the years.
exactly, exactly. So it's kind of like, what do you really look at like overall? But
Top 10 sounds good to me.
yeah, so kickoff return yards, the Bills were in the top 10. They were top 15, top 10 a lot of those quantifiable like return yards, return touchdown, field goal percentage. So you look at that, that's Tabor's unit. Hey, cool. Because
Yeah.
sometimes the throughout the 2025 season, Dolphins special teams wasn't the best. So,
Mm.
I believe it's an improvement there. And
Well,
yeah,
it matters. We saw it with the Rams last night. Little mess up led to a Seattle touchdown. So it matters. People forget. Punters are people too.
and yeah, Xavier Smith had that muffed punt that probably decided the game, you
Yeah.
know? And there you go. You don't want stuff like that. You don't ever want that to happen, especially in a playoff game. That is the worst time for that to happen. But we got Chris Tabor over from the Buffalo Bills, AFC East interchange. He knows the Bills well. You're going to be playing the Bills twice
That's
a
true.
year.
Yeah.
So, he knows the ins and outs of that special teams there. So you got one. Um, the only department that has not been figured out, or rather, the top of said department is defensive coordinator position.
Hmm.
Um, there has been some interviews, but nothing has been confirmed yet. So the Eagles defensive line coach Clint Hurt, also a very long time coach. He was interviewed for the defensive coordinator position with the Dolphins, but there has not been a hire on that front. Um, can't talk, can't remember. Jeff Hafley
Mm,
did indicate during his press conference that he will be calling plays on defense. That being
that might be
said,
a little
yeah,
who wants that job.
exactly. That being said, there could be exactly like you just said, some issues on people wanting that job because you're not going to be able to call plays and or him finding the right person that's going to be his second in command because that's what it's going to be. Whoever the defensive coordinator is going to be will be your right hand man, and they need to be with you one for one on defensive play calling and organizing and all that. And to be fair, the Dolphins do have a pretty decent defense.
Hmm.
Obviously, there's going to be some work to be done in the offseason, but you got Chop Robinson, you got Jordan Brooks, you got some, Rasul Douglas had a breakout year. You got some really good pieces there. So, he's got to find the right person that's going to be able to work with him, but that won't be able to call plays. So that
Have
could
they
be
had
a
any Packers in the building yet? Because that seems like the most logical move.
yeah, that there was a lot of talk about that, but nobody yet. I
No one
oddly
yet.
enough, these are a lot of the coaches are either who he coached with like years ago or at the collegiate
Mm.
level, and a lot of them aren't really from directly from the Packers, which I find very weird.
Younger minds, because I mean, I guess Hurt
They're all
is
older coaches thus far.
47. Well, yeah, I mean, but if you've got Slowick on the younger side,
Yeah,
on the maybe he is looking for that younger defensive mind that is like a, what we're seeing in Seattle and Jesse Minter and all these like younger defensive minds that are kind of coming in. Maybe he's looking for someone that is willing to kind of be under him, learn from him a bit and work his way up as opposed to things. I think some of the Packers like linebackers coach, maybe like the past some run game coordinators might I think that they're younger and maybe they would want to. They maybe having worked with him before, but if he's been looking at older guys, yeah, I don't know. Or maybe guys who have kind of done it before and don't really need to have that power. Um, it's a hard one because I mean, it's great to be a defensive coordinator, but you probably do want a little bit of control if and then if your head coach has kind of been the one overruling that. I mean, it's not uncommon nowadays, like we see it with offensive minded coaches all the time. So
yeah, definitely. But yeah, some of the two of the current assistants, or one that's on the Packers is linebackers coach Sean Duggan, who was the co-defensive coordinator at Boston College under Hafley when he was head coach, and then
mm,
he followed Hafley to the Packers and as a defensive assistant, and then got promoted to linebackers coach. But there's been no mention if he's got an interview or not. Another one, Tim Lukabu, is a linebackers coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He was a
yeah.
defensive coordinator as well at Boston. So those are two potentials, but I think because of the impact of him calling plays, I think that's why it's probably taking a little bit slower on that side of things to bring
Yeah, and I
in.
mean he's been a busy boy. He's hired quite a lot of people. So, this is probably the next thing for him. Maybe it's something that he feels a little bit more like he knows the run of it and he can take his time a little bit longer with it. Um, but yeah, no, I feel like it's shaping up well over in Miami.
Yeah, you know, um, that's Hafley's um, biggest task right now is to finish getting his head coach or his staff together as head coach. Same thing with same thing with John Eric Sullivan. John Eric Sullivan is they're already actually kind of building out their um, front office staff. So
Yeah, got a new assistant GM, right?
yep, yep. Kyle Smith, who is the assistant GM for the Atlanta Falcons, got hired and is now with the Miami Dolphins. So big hire, another experienced front office guy. The Atlanta Falcons, I think, are a very well built team. Obviously, they have some holes, as well, but um, I feel like that's a great hire. But both of them are getting their respective staffs together because now you have to really quickly transition into the off season, which
Mm-hmm.
is the Senior Bowl. Then you got free agency, then you got the draft. So
Yep.
you need the coaching staff. to be filled out, as well as the front office, so that way they can work in tandem to start scouting and evaluating players that they want to go and get.
Hmm.
The issue is the Dolphins don't have a lot of cap space right now, and
Keep saying it.
yeah,
Not a
I
lot of
mean,
money to play with.
not a lot of money to play with, and honestly, I really respected John Eric Sullivan's self-awareness throughout this past week after he was introduced. He did a lot of interviews with the Dolphins, like, social media team and all that. And he's very, very, very self-aware and honest about it. We're not gonna be able to do a whole lot, but we're gonna be able to work our way into doing that in 2027, which is what I brought up previously, what we talked
Yeah.
about on this pod, and that's exactly what's gonna be happening. They're not gonna be able to do a lot in 2026. That's just the way it is. They're in the hole about 30 million in the cap right now, I believe it is. Um, and you got the massive Tyreek Hill $50 million cap hit waiting
You
for
got
you.
Tua sat there.
And Tua's, yeah. So 30 million right now, 30.321 is what the Dolphins owe, or they're in the red. So not a lot of work there. You can't
No.
you,
Well, it's good
you
to be honest and realistic and be like, hey, hold out. Don't be disappointed when things don't work out in 2026. Like, this is what we're looking at.
Yeah, and I think that was probably the conversation that Stephen Ross, well, not maybe not so much Stephen Ross, but that Troy Aikman and the rest of the selection committee had with Jeff Hafley as well as John Eric Sullivan. Like, look, you're gonna have to take kind of a down year because of the previous regime and the way that it was structured is kind of
Yeah.
a mess. And you're coming into this situation with what the hell are you gonna do about Tua? And that's something they have to figure out very quickly. Very, very
Yep.
quickly.
You have not got time to be thinking and dilly-dallying on that one.
Nope. You have to decide in the coming weeks. We're almost here in February. March 11th is free agency. If you are going to do anything, which I don't think that they will, because you don't have the money to do so. I mean, you're going to go for those you're going to go for those 1 year rentals for sure. I mean,
Hmm.
that's what you have to do to fill those holes. But
Philip Rivers, come on down.
yeah, right.
Sorry, he's
Um,
actually too busy in Buffalo right now.
yeah, honestly, like it's to the point where I don't even know. Like, I would love for them to go get Malik Willis, but I don't even know if they would be able to get
Yeah,
Malik Willis because he's going to demand a good, really good contract for whatever team wants to go and get him.
for
Because
sure.
showed he's probably a viable starter. So you're probably
Hmm.
looking at like a 2 year deal. I don't 2 year, what, 12 to 15 million maybe. I don't think the Dolphins can afford that, but we'll see.
Luckily, not my job to make.
Yeah, right. But I mean,
Not my
like,
spreadsheet, not my problem.
yeah, yeah, no, really, no. I mean, but obviously with contract restructures, with extensions, with all of that, the Dolphins are going to be obviously they have to get in out of the red because that's just the way that they have to do it. But
Yeah. This is
um,
the year to sit and really have a think about rebuilding, kind of even maybe even looking into the 2027 draft, seeing what you maybe want to do there, figuring out for this year what's their draft situation this year. A lot of picks, not a lot of picks.
actually they have a really good amount of picks. So they
Well,
have
there you go. You can build your roster
yeah,
from there.
they have pick number 11. Let me see. I forget. I think it's 11
Sounds
or
about right.
I think it's 11 or 13. I can't remember. Nope, that's not it.
Draft order.
Yeah,
What is it,
11.
guy?
Number 11 overall. And then in the
Sure.
second round, they have number 43 overall, which is like still at the top. And then three third round picks, I believe.
Oh yeah. So with those third, we've been spoken in the past about
Yeah.
look can be done with those third round
Yeah,
picks.
and then they're waiting for the compensatory picks for all the later rounds, whatever. But they have a lot of really good upper picks, so you can do a lot with that. You can trade down, you can trade up, whatever the case may be. I don't think this is a situation where the Dolphins are going to trade up by any means,
Mm,
unless of course somebody flubs on some player that John Eric Sullivan in the front office believes is worth a trade up. But I don't think that they are going to do that. I think they're probably going to be more so of the mind of trading back those third round picks, especially, and stacking more draft capital to go after more players to build through the draft, which is what they need to do.
yeah. There's some holes there. Think
Definitely. Definitely.
defense, corners need to be figured out. Offensive line maybe
Yeah.
figured out.
Yeah.
And then
quarterback.
that really matters about like who you got at the behind. So you need to figure that out before you even begin thinking about who you're bringing in. So
Yep.
I wonder how quickly we'll be hearing about Tua's situation. We've
It,
spoken before about is a team going to want him? Some team I think he might be attractive to, but like
oh
not for
yeah,
a lot.
I don't like if like it'll be shocking if a team trades for Tua. Shocking, but maybe
Because
somebody.
some people make some really silly decisions.
And yeah, like we talked about it before. It's not like Tua was a terrible quarterback.
Nope.
Even this season, he struggled, sure, but I don't know. Maybe he can train in the off season. Maybe he goes somewhere where they're able to kind of work with him in a different way.
Hmm.
Oftentimes, like look at Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold was on his way to being a journeyman quarterback, and now he's in the freaking Super Bowl. So you look at like what could happen year after year.
In the right scheme, people settle in and it works for them and it does. I just think Tua is kind of fed up here, probably hasn't been feeling the love. And that does affect you, doesn't it? You don't want to show up and out. And why put your body on the line for a team that you know doesn't want you next year? Maybe he needs a fresh start, but comes with a spenny old hit, someone's finances as well. So that's worth thinking about.
Yep, exactly. That's exactly it. You have to, you can take a flyer, in which case the Dolphins would have to pay at least half of that 50 million cap hit
And from
or the
where?
contract. Yeah, and yeah, exactly. From where? And then you would have to sweeten the deal with probably a third round pick for anybody to even consider taking Tua off your hands. In which
Yeah.
case, like maybe that team is even just taking him to make them their backup, make him their backup. I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know.
what I think. That's the more realistic situation if he's going to be back up
Yeah,
somewhere.
and then you think about it, okay, like he's going to be backup or whatever, but then you let him compete. Maybe he shows that he can still throw the ball, and he's not, what he was at the end of 2025.
Mm.
There's a lot of what ifs, there's a lot of variables there, but if John Eric Sullivan can get him traded, he's going to be the greatest GM ever. Like really though,
He's
like
walking around with like, anybody want this guy?
yeah, yeah.
Anyone?
And this is not a slight against Tua. I'm
No,
a Tua
I don't think
fan.
so at all. I
Yeah,
hate to see what happened to
yeah,
him and I
yeah.
hate to see what happened to his relationship with the organization and I want the best for him. I want him to go somewhere and prove everyone wrong. But the reality of the situation is it's a financial risk that a lot of people not really necessarily. There are some needy quarterback teams out there, but
The Raiders, the Cardinals. I mean, or I don't
the
know.
Raiders are just fine. They're
Well,
like,
I mean,
thanks,
yeah, they got
Mendoza.
Mendoza, but there are teams that maybe might need a quarterback. Maybe they
For
see
sure,
Tua
yeah.
as
And
someone
sooner
that,
rather than later.
yeah. So we'll see, but it should be coming very soon. Because, like I said, you have to figure that part out before free agency because that's a
Yeah.
big cap hit. And I think if they designate him a post June 1st cut, that 99.2 million, I think it is, gets spread over the next two seasons. But again, you got a 50 million cap hit. It's huge. So
Hmm.
if that's the case, if they do cut him, um, then you're looking at not being able to do much of anything at all.
Yeah. Then you really do put yourself in a hole. So not not a fun job, but if they've come in, they're excited about it. They obviously have a plan for this. I think that they're well aware of the situation and we're probably going to handle it well and be prepared to build for 2027 and beyond. So might take a little while.
Yeah, no, definitely. But yeah, that decision has to come very, very soon, which
Hmm.
is even more of a reason why this coaching staff needs to be put together, even more of a reason why the front office needs to be put together, because you're running out of time. You're running out
Yep.
of time, at which point you have to go right into evaluating talent, figuring out the Tua situation, figuring out the Tyreek Hill situation.
Hmm.
Is he going to come back? Does he want to come back? If he does, he's got to work. There's got to be a new deal there. I don't think that he's going to be back, unfortunately. Um, would I like to see Tyreek Hill as a Miami Dolphin again? Absolutely. But I just
Hmm.
don't know because he is also getting up there in age and he probably wants to go somewhere where he can compete.
Yep. When you've got
So,
all that talent, it's frustrating. You don't want to wait another year
no, no.
when
And
someone's willing to pay you elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly. And he's also, I mean, again, you can take whatever the hell Tyreek Hill says on social media with a grain of salt because he's trolling all the time and he always says he's trolling. But he also talked about retirement as well. So you're looking at, you're looking
Why
at him.
not? He's tired, taking some hits. He's bored. He wants to go, I don't know.
Yeah. So who knows? But there's the point being that the Dolphins are in a really not great cap situation, not great situation overall, especially because of the Tua Tagovailoa situation. You have to figure that part out. You have to decide within weeks, are you going to cut him? Is he going to remain on the roster? If he remains on the roster, and then I think next season that number drops down to like 30 million, I believe it is for the cap hit, which obviously is a lot more manageable, especially if you take the hit with everything else this year to prepare for the
Yep.
following season. Um, yeah, there's a that is the governing issue right now for the front office, which trickles down to the coaching staff, is Tua Tagovailoa. What you do with him? Can you trade him? If you can't trade him, will you cut him? Will you keep him on the roster? Because that decision looms large for everything else.
Yeah, and I think that that was a decision that they were even thinking about this year, but now the difference is they've got the restructure around them, that they have this stability, they have a whole new era that's kind of coming in, and there's a little bit more grace. Whereas, like, I feel like Mike McDaniel and everyone in the locker room was aware of what was at stake if the season didn't go well. And now, if a season doesn't go well, like these guys are not going to be kicked out the door next season. Like they've got another few years to kind of turn things around. And so there is just a little bit less pressure off of everybody's shoulders. Um, and that's the only difference really going into this next season.
Definitely, definitely. Um, Yeah, there's a lot to figure out, but I mean that's kind of why you bring in somebody like John Eric Sullivan, who's, was one of the most well-respected candidates that everybody was gunning for. And
Yeah.
he decided to come over and take the job with the Miami Dolphins. But you're coming into the situation knowing very well aware that you're coming into a very messy situation, a very big reset, and you're starting from square one, and you have to then figure that part out and start putting the building blocks together for a better 2027. Because, in my opinion, 2026 ain't going to be the year.
It's high risk with potential for high reward. And that's what every GM wants. They really want to come in and show off, especially a new GM stepping into a beloved organization. They want to show off and they want to like restore the dignity that once was the Dolphins. Like they were once that team and they want to bring it back. Why not?
Yep. Back when Marino was here, they were a playoff team and they were
Yeah.
dominant and, unfortunately never got to the Super Bowl, but, they were relevant. And it's been a long time. 25 years since they won a playoff game. 2008 was the last time they won the division because Tom Brady tore his ACL. So, there's a lot going on with this team. There's a lot of mediocrity that needed to be cut away. Um, we'll see what happens. Stephen Ross talked about his succession plans. His son-in-law, I believe, is going to be the new owner or president, whatever, down the line here. So we'll
Keeping it
see.
in the family.
Yeah, keeping it in the family. He did admit that's what he's going to be doing. I believe that he was also involved in the GM search and the head coach search, I believe.
They're
Um,
building for a new era. They're setting it up to kind of be this next chapter as opposed to like this. Some teams get very impatient very quickly, and I admire the Dolphins for not expecting that and putting pressure on people that's just not realistic.
Yeah, yeah, but I also don't like them for doing that because as I've said before, Stephen Ross is loyal to a fault, and
Yep.
keeping Chris Greer around for 20 years was not it. Clearly it wasn't it. But you're again going back to John Eric Sullivan. You come from a winning organization. You come from an
Yeah.
organization that's been well built and well run for 30 years, and now you can go and impart all of that onto this new rebuild. It's going to be rough sledding, probably
And the
for,
Patriots are back, so it's really going to be rough.
yeah, the Patriots are back. The Bills are the Bills. They got rid
Well,
of,
the Bills might not be the Bills.
we'll see.
McDermott's gone. We'll see if McDermott was really the problem. I personally don't think so. Joe Brady also not going to be there. They're having a whole sweep out, so we'll see. Is Josh Allen really that guy?
Yeah, it's very true. And yeah, it really kind of depends too. Like, yeah, who are the Bills going to be when they get a new coaching staff in? Will they get the right coach in? They had um, Philip Rivers there interviewing for the job, which was the weirdest thing ever. And then he backed out of consideration. So I don't
He
know.
saw what was going on in that building. He was like, no thanks.
Yeah, he's like,
I don't want any part of what's going on over here.
I don't know about all this. But
He's like, you fired Sean McDermott, by the way.
yeah, right, right. But I mean, that's what's going on. The Dolphins have a lot of questions.
And the
We
poor
will,
Jets are just there.
yeah, the Jets are the Jets. We don't have to really worry about the Jets so much. Um,
You just wait. Next year, they'll do it better.
Even they convinced me. Even I was like, oh man, the Jets are going to be good this year, and
Bought
then
into
they're
the
not. And I was like,
Kool-Aid
oh, never
every
mind.
year. That's how
I,
they keep him. That's how they keep those fans
like
so
when Aaron
loyal.
Rodgers first came, I was like, dude, this is kind of scary. They might be
They
good. And
got it.
then he tore his Achilles 3 plays in. I was like, oh, never mind.
Talk about a waste of money.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, yeah, the Dolphins are building their coaching staff. John Eric Sullivan's getting the front office situated. Hafley's getting the coaching staff situated. We will be back next week, and we will start talking all about hopefully that next defensive coordinator, whoever it is, and then see what the Dolphins can do cap wise, what they can do whatever wise. They have to figure that part out, and maybe start getting some clarity on the Tua Tagovailoa situation.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, we shall see. Don't know, but it is what it is.
They got a
Um,
plan.
exactly. This has been Roundtable Dolphins, episode 6. Thank you, Billy, for joining me once again. We will be back next week to talk all about whatever the hell happens with this Dolphins team, which, again, defensive coordinator, fill out that coaching staff, start preparing for free agency or lack thereof, whatever the hell they're going to do.
Plan for the quarterback. Plan for just a few tasks.
Just that much.
Small list.